if my monitoring is making, I think it making it go low. So let me turn it off. It's weird that I'm gonna test this now. Test one, two, testing. Yes. I don't know. Okay. Test, 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 test. All right. So, um, yeah. But yeah. Okay. So today I want to break down the short film that was done by me in conjunction with the network that I have for, well, of course, Kwasi Media Network. So, hey guys, you got Kwasi here for Kwasi Animation Studio and Kwasi Media Network. All right, so what I want to do is look at it in its entirety. Uh, Look at all of the components and all of the breakdown. Okay. Uh, Look at how it look at how it the process that I went through to make it. Okay. So yeah, give me 1 second. I want to check something. So just bear with me here, okay? So I'm gonna mute myself. Test, 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 test. All right, guys. Okay, so it's where I wanted to be. I was testing the sound. I'm sorry that if that seemed weird or strange. Okay, so let's bust that scene open. All righty then. We're gonna go ahead and look at that. So here's the scene right here. Um, to be honest, I actually need to share this out. So let me go ahead and do that. And the objective here is to figure out for yourself how you would like, or rather, what you want what you want your film to display in, or uh, oh, I don't have a setting for live streams. What you want to tell, the story that you want to tell. I'm sorry that I sound so discombobulated. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna share this out real fast. Okay, sorry for the delay. Okay, so now let's look at this. So right here, I'm looking at. I don't know why it's in here. I need to be over here. Okay, so I'm in my playback, which apparently wasn't set up in the first one. All right, so let me close all of this stuff. Okay, so what I have here, I think his camera is the one that's selected, right? Okay, no, it's the zombies camera. All right, so the idea of Aksara is about this dystopian future, so to speak. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go look at it. Okay, we're gonna actually watch the film. So I'm gonna go to the actual Discord, and I'm gonna share your animation. So here it is, right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the actual file. I want to go to the actual I want to go to YouTube. Okay, never mind. Just gonna watch it right here, right now. Okay, so gonna unmute and play. Oh my bad. Let me turn this up. And pardon the freaking resolution because of YouTube compression. Oh, it's not. Okay. Why is it thinking? All right. Okay, since I don't want to play from there, let me do this differently then. Got a better idea. Do it this way. Okay. So I'll play it from the actual source file. So give me a second. Let me pull it. So let's actually look at the film itself. All right. Okay, so basically with that, that's the run of it, right? So, and of course I added credits. So now one of the things that I wanted to look at was the breakdown here. So I'm going to go into the layout and look at the breakdown. So here's your environment, right? So using geometry nodes, I just took a the there's a collection here, right, of buildings. A free download I got that is of these dystopian type of buildings where these buildings are, dilapidated, broke down, uh, um, uh, basically in total and utter disarray. So the thing I wanted to do was build a set that, like, using external assets, these cars are burned out or whatnot, using the geo nodes, cables, even geo nodes pipes, geo cables. So this is geo cables, this is geo pipes, and then I use textures. The textures that I use, if we go into actual, we're just going to go into render preview. When you look at the textures, oops, I kicked the mic, sorry. When we go into textures, let me turn my music back on. When we look at textures, we see that the only thing I didn't do is that the builders already had their texture. So the textures that I used for anything extra was just for this ground here, and it came from through Blender Kit. All right. Oh no, I made it unlisted so that it's exclusive to my second server. So if you want to go in there, you can, because it's in the description. Well, not second server. It's a server that me and Josh been putting together. It was his idea, so I unlisted it so that anybody that wants to try to kind of make exclusive content, so that's why it's unlisted. Um, it's not something I formally put on the channel. Uh, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that, really, to be honest. And big ups for coming through, bro. But yeah, so I use Blender Kit for the textures, and of course, this character comes from the site Ready Player Me. All right, so let's go look at Ready Player. All right, so you go look at Ready Player Me, and the thing is these character models are basically based on uh, some based on basically Fortnite style characters, to be honest. So you can go here and it says, oh well, you can sign in or whatever, and basically it asks you to give an email, then it give you activation code, and it remembers you. But you always have to use the activation code. Okay, so that's where the character came from, and then the actual zombie model I got from, I believe, is a upgraded version of one that comes from Mixamo, but I got it from CG Trader or Sketchfab. I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie, but it was one of those two. Um, the whole objective and storyline, like I got these vehicles from Sketchfab. All right, these came from Sketchfab. Um, the same as the buildings or whatnot. So one of the things that I when I started coming up with the concept for the actual um for the story for the micro short film for the short film was, what would the people be like in, you know, 5 centuries, 4 centuries from now? Like people constantly making movies where it's like, oh, in the year 2066. No, no, that's too close. Make it 3,000 years from now. You know, so that's why at the beginning of it says, yeah, 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 you right. So that's why it's like that's why when you look, it says year 5603. You know, my mindset was, how would people be? So instead of this is the thing I wanted to also make note of too. My side, the music is loud. I don't know why, even though it's turned down over there on the other side. Let me make sure that the volume's decent for you guys. I want you to still be able to hear the music. Also turn me up a little bit. But you're right, bro. We've been at it. Uh, but that's also partly because I'm constantly on his butt. Um, but this right here, the idea of the so-called zombies, I'm air quoting, you can't see that. The concept is, instead of it being a virus, instead of it being some sort of government conspiracy to create some sort of super soldier, the idea of Aksara is, in Aksara, this is Aksara. Okay, so the guy over here is Aksara. This is the actual character. That's the name of the character. It's not just the name of the series in general. So the idea of the zombies was, I wanted them to be able to. I'm sorry, the zombies are not undead. Okay, so instead, these zombies are actual men and women that have gone full feral and eating flesh. They are just cannibals now. So that was the entire mindset behind when I set this up. That's why once you look at it towards the end, if we go to a different shot, let me turn this off because I don't want it to come back to that. So when we look at, I want to say this shot that does not have any shading on it. Um, the shot is this shot here. Okay, so let me go into it. I'm gonna turn on the shading preview. So the mindset is in this here is that's why when he shoots him, it's simple. It's a simple. It's as simple as he gets shot, and he dies. There's no shooting him 17 times or whatever because he's still a person. He's still a physical person. Okay, so that's why when we see this shot here and he dies, he's actually dead. There's no he's, you know. I'm sorry, I got a text message. So here he actually dies. So like unlike other stories where they're constantly having to shoot them repeatedly, I just stayed away from that. Okay. My mindset was let me have these cannibals that have completely become feral because the world around them is so controlled by this really small group of people and all of their agents. And those agents are even enslaved in a sense where they eat better than the common man. So Aksara is like the leader of a rebellion, but uh hold 1 second. Okay, so like I was saying, um the biggest so okay, so he is the leader of the supposed resistance, okay? Or the people trying to get back to a place of normalcy in their lives. That's why I put it so far in the so-called future, because I wanted it to be in a position where if these people had to make any sort of, what would be the right way to put that? Um that these people are trying to get back to having a life that we call normal, where they're not having to be reduced to cannibalism. So the thing I wanted with the zombies, like a good example here in this shot, the thing I wanted with the zombies was that they didn't, that they're not, again, they're not some manifestation of a virus or whatever. And that's what I liked about this particular model, is because with this model, all I had to do was basically kind of give him a better, because his the little parts and bits and pieces that kind of shine and glow, they weren't shining and glowing, so I just added some stuff to make them shine and glow. I mean, shiny. Even though this bottom part got a little bit out of hand, but that's what I liked about when you go into a full the full render, it kind of it subdues that. So yeah, but this shot right here I really liked because he stops and he realizes this is where you start to see and notice that this is not what you may call a common zombie type. So I wanted to get away from that. So the objective was figure out how the zombies needed to move. Like even though he moves in a feral type of way, that's why when you see the walking, he's kind of like, yeah, I'm looking for something to eat. But then he kind of can feel or sense just like most people could, right? Because he's still a human. He's not an undead creature. And that was the objective and the point of coming up with the concept of Aksara. It's like I wanted to say, okay, this is why in this part here, when he's holding the weapon on him right here, you notice that uh, the zombie is looking back at him, but Aksara is holding off on shooting immediately because he knows this is an actual man that could stop being accountable. Okay, so it's like a hard decision to make. All right, so here that's why it's like you see it, then it changes view because both of them are in a mode right now. Both persons are like, Aksara's like, do I do this? And then we get a shot of the zombie and he's like, I know you're there, I see you, you kind of got me. Do what it is that do what you feel you need to do. The guy probably doesn't even want to be alive anymore because he reduced himself to cannibalism. And I feel like that's a concept of the zombie that I don't think anybody's ever went to. Is like, really a zombie would just be a cannibal, will be a conscious thinking mindful human that is not affected by a virus, that is not affected by any sort of chemical chemistry, genetic changes, but they have made a conscious decision to eat people, and that changed the way their body looks, that changed the way that they do everything, because their whole objective is to get that human flesh. And so I was like, that would be a higher concept over, oh, this virus struck the world, and like if the virus struck the world, everybody really would die. Like there will be, and then a few that may be immune, they still will be subject to dying because everything else died. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it really doesn't make sense to make it a virus when in all truth a great portion of people and animals and plants will be subject to something of a greater biological risk. So why wouldn't it just be about greed, and that this small strata of people that have secured their own selves allow the people outside their walls to eat each other and kill each other? And that was the point. So when we play forward, you know, I'm sorry, when we play forward, and let's say you go to the next shot, right? So when we go to the next shot, this one. So there should be 8, right? So we go to this shot, and what you get here is you start to realize that this zombie knows. It's like, hey, okay, whatever. And then he just kind of turns his head like, whatever, do what you feel like you need to do. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the point here. Is I wanted this contrast between the two characters where Aksara's like, I know that this is a legit person. Like, this is not some undead, mindless creature. It's a person that has just taken on a feral mindset, and that's the concept of Aksara. Even I want to say which one is it? Yeah, like in this shot where there's a transition between the two. Here, where he pulls his weapon. If I go back, he's pulling his weapon out right here, right? So he pulls his gun out. Okay. All right. The zombie is just walking unbeknown to the other guy. I'm sorry, I just randomly stopped talking. I was trying to respond to a text message. I'm also dealing with some legal matters, and I keep getting a text from the person working on the stuff, and it's driving me a little bit. I'm just like, I told you clearly what to do. But anyway, so um, this, anyway, so the shot. Let me go to the next shot because I'm like, I just lost my train of thought. No lie. Uh, okay, so here in this shot, we also have that there's a realization coming over Aksara. Right here in this shot, we have where he hears like basically an outcry. Okay, so in that outcry, let's go mute the music real quick because I'm gonna go play the actual video clip. All right, so when I go, I'm gonna play the clip and we'll just go through it like that. Um, Pause. Okay, so come here. Oh, my bad. I forgot it's further than it's closer back. Okay, so here he hears it, right? Okay, so in hearing that, he backs off. He already knows that there's danger coming, and he runs into the distance. So the thing is that this is a constant thing, right? So we already know in most dystopian style concepts, that's pretty much how things rock a lot of the time. That the people involved have to fight against multiple threats from whatever the opposition is. Might say if it's vampires, a virus, zombies, other people that for some reason want to have control. It's weird to me because anytime I look at shows where there's a some sort of thing in the world has happened, it's like people are so quick to not trust each other. I'm like, I don't get it. Like we already in a bad position. Let's just chill out. Why are we doing all this distrustful, disrespectful, dishonorable acts rather than saying, okay, look, bro, we all being chased by vampires. I ain't got time for all this foolishness. We know we need to booby trap this. We need to do that. Let's just do what we got to do. All this fighting and bickering amongst yourselves is unnecessary. So the concept here was to kind of follow in that mindset of, okay, let's get away from that. Um, that's why I like the whole idea of that the zombies are actual people and not some mindless group of just beings that died and then woke up. I'm like, let's get away from that concept. Let's say that this is an actual physical person that eats people, and they are the majority right now. A lot of them have been killed, and and whatnot. But then there's also like some that have mutations because of that consuming human flesh, so they become kind of almost brute strength, brutes with strength, and even their speed and their agility and their ability to last longer than other people in confrontation. So that was the mindset behind developing some of the concept behind placing this together. So let's just look at some camera work. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the animation tab here. All right, and one of the things is again is framing my shot. So I knew I wanted this shot to be to showcase that the body was on the ground and that Aksara was about to put his weapon away, but he's making sure first. So as we see it play back, let me turn the overlay off. So as we see it play back, he sort of kind of drops it a little, and then it slowly comes down. So you see it drop a little bit right there, and then it comes down some more, and then it just completely goes down. But he puts it away, even though we can't see it here over here because this is just a shot here, but we can tell by his shoulder that he's putting that weapon away. Okay, so as you see the arm move forward, he puts it back down. And then we have this shot, which I think is a pretty cool shot, because I wanted to make sure that specific things in this world were caught. That's why I went underneath, because now, being that he took out the enemy, that usually in the concepts of cinematography, what you want to do is bring your camera angle underneath the person that's the dominant, meaning that we see them from below because they're the dominant person. The person that is usually the diminutive person, that person, the camera usually is above them, and we see them from a downward angle. So since at this moment he became, because if we see it, it starts out above him because we're watching both things, and then as it comes down, it's coming down to his level. Then when it switches, it starts almost at face level, and then it makes its way back up. I mean, it makes its way down and gives us this, okay, I'm the supreme person in this circumstance. All right, so if we look at this and we say, okay, well, what about the next shot? In the next shot, it's still there, but it starts to come up. And why? Is because now when we go look at it, let me make sure I select this camera. Okay, so because I don't want it to click anything else. All right, so we'll turn off the overlay. When we look at this shot, it starts to come up because he just heard something that may be more dominant. Now it goes back down a little bit because it's like, okay, let me think about it, and then it comes back up again. Why? Because the situation has changed. It's kind of like right here, he's like kind of asserting himself, like, I can handle it. And he's like, no, you know what? Let me reconsider. And then the camera comes back up. So the idea of me doing the camera the way I did it was based in those things. It's like, hey, this is what could happen. This is what's happening. Wait a minute. This may not be a circumstance I could deal with my 9mm. So then he just decides to back up and go about his business. So that's one of the things about building a short film is assets, figuring out the assets you want to use, figuring out the people that are going to be involved. And I think one of the biggest hurdles is animation. So for me, when it came to animation, I had a mixture. It was some download of mocap, some like this second shot is mocap. This one is just purely me just turning him back and forth so that he could see, you know what I'm saying, like just little actions. You see how like it's just a slight turn and instantly come back. So it's like blended to, because I know I don't do walk cycle, so I just went and just downloaded a walk cycle. But because if we look here in the NLA editor, I have two tracks, and then if we go to this track, we can see that that track has a blend of 16 frames. So it blends in at 16 frames, even though if I mute this, he's just gonna sit there still idle because that's the animation is him just standing there, and then there's the keys on top of this. If we go into it, the keys on top of this are just baked of just random motion of an idle motion. Okay, so all I did was just on top of that before baking it, just adding these two little things where because if we just look at his body in general, he's just in a default pose. Just if we go back to the beginning, just look at him. He's just in a default pose. See what I'm saying? Like there's no general pose here. So it's just taking the arms and turning him and making sure everything bends. And that was like the whole objective when putting it all together. Was figuring out each shot based on the story I want to portray in that shot. Outside of that, yeah. But trying to think here. Okay, so anyway, here another one where he walks out. Again, the shot is above because we're getting a general sense of what's happening. So we press play. He's just stepping out some, but I kept everything. Now I know you might say, "Well, it's moving kind of slow." It's a reason why I have them moving slower and the camera moving faster. It's this almost this feeling of intensity. Okay, so it's like figuring out how to make each shot make sense was the objective here. Because even here, when we look at this shot underneath, where he's looking. Because he sees him from this angle, right? So here he sees him, but when he looks the other way, he's making sure there's no one else, and that's the mindset. Is thinking on that animation. What makes sense here? And that was kind of what took me a while, because I've really be trying to do these things in like maybe a day. This took like a series of 3, not because it took long to animate or even build the environment. It's because I was doing other stuff. But yeah. I'm sorry, I just stopped talking out of nowhere. Give me a second. I need to send a message. Okay, so back to it. Now, for those of you that came in late, so those of you seeing this later, those of you that may think, what's going on here? What do you got going on? Even those that may still be here and even those that may have already left. Aksara, a dystopian journal. The idea is in the secondary server that me and a buddy of mine created, which I'll go to it, is called Kono Riki, okay, or Kono Chikara. All right, and Kono Chikara is Japanese for this power, okay? And the objective, as you see, there's a lot of bits and pieces to the side over here. There's only 3 people, okay? Me, my boy Josh, and a guy going by the name of Vexby. Vexby may be in here right now. I don't know. Listening, but the server is specifically for creators of 2D, 3D, and any other medium, even though we are truthfully set out to focus on 3D animation and mostly originals. Not tripping on fan fiction, because there is a spot for it underneath the animation hub where it says share fan fiction, fan fiction share. This is please limit the amount of fan fiction stuff you post. And the point of me limiting it isn't about saying don't post it. The point is don't be posting stuff from other people. Post your stuff. So if you know of somebody else's stuff, then talk about it in a discussion channel, of course. But anyway, the point of the Kono Riki, so let me go to it real quick because I started I'm sorry, I hit the mic again. So it has its own folder. So Konoriki, and we look at images, and this is the image for the Konoriki server. So again, I used a Ready Player Me character to create the actual thumbatar, because I don't know why they'd be like create avatar, the thumbatar for the server. So Konoriki, uh, in the word Kono is power, and Riki is dang, I can't remember. I had it. I sent it to him. Let me go look what it's. I sent it to Jeshua. Let me see. Where is it? Okay, yeah, here we go. So uh yeah, so is this power is the breakdown. So Riki means power and strength, and then Kono means dexterity and skill. So dexterity and skill plus power and strength means this power. So a skillful power, if you would. So that was kind of the concept for the server. Again, those of you that may want to join, you can. They may see this after the fact. Uh, but nonetheless, the concepts behind creating short film, and the reason why I call this a micro short film is because it's less than a minute. Or really, I mean, it's a minute. I'm sorry, it's less than 5 minutes. So a lot of people are putting out stuff saying, "Oh, it's a short film," and it'd be like 49 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes. I'm like, it's not a short film. A short film is 5 minutes plus. Okay, and it's short, and it's it's up to 40 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes up to 40 minutes is a short film. Anything over 40 minutes is a full-fledged movie. Okay? It's a feature film. Okay, so anything that is under 5 minutes is just a video. So when I say, so I decided, I saw somebody mark one of the things they were doing in the live stream as a micro short film. And I was like, I like that. So I feel like if we're going to say a short film for anything under 5 minutes, call it a micro short film. So that's what I decided. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go with micro short film. But nonetheless, another thing is the biggest thing here, I think, is camera. Um, and I feel like the reason why camera is so important is that a lot of people forget to actually find the shot. So if I look at this shot here, I don't. I hate the fact that his weapon was crooked, and I saw it here, and I know I'm giving myself away, but but yeah, the I'm trying to think of words here. So I wanted to. So I see how this shot is framed, because see, we get a glimpse of the cables, we get a glimpse of the pipes, the car, the buildings in the back. So if I hit render, right, and this is in 4K resolution, and I had to render it at 1980 by 1080. I mean 1920 by 1080, because for some reason I can't get it to render anything over that. Um, but yeah, I like this shot. So when I saw this, I was like, that's the shot right there. That is the shot I want. Um, so looking at it even here is seeing, like, if I was to go here and do this, like in the thing you get to see, because I don't do it here. There's no effect here, but I got asked about the slide on this gun, right? He was like, "Oh, is it rigged?" I'm like, "No. What it is this weapon is in parts. Okay, so it comes in pieces, right? And this is, the ejector or whatnot. This is the slide. Then of course we have the actual frame. The trigger actually goes backward and forward. Okay, like I can actually make it move backward and forward. So when I animated it, I just wanted to make sure that the slide moved. And since I've fired many a weapon, I knew how short of a time I needed to actually have that uh, slide go back and then forward again. So it's like boom, pow, So again, this is the latest anticipation of the shot. He fires, then we see, the zombie fall and whatnot. So I wanted to create this sensation of, like, I don't want to do it, but I have to, because you people are doing too much. Okay. And then the next step was music. So if we go in and just pause, I'm gonna mute the Epic channel here. If I look at the music of Aksara, I actually decided um, to use external music. So I used a track from a site called Mixkit, and I just felt like it fit. So there's just like this level of dread, like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with myself. And I was like, all right, so I know I wanted to have a certain pacing. So that paced it for me. And then I knew towards the end where that was going to be an issue, I decided to use this track called Your Own Personal Hell from Pixabay. Okay. That's how it starts. But I just went straight to where it was kind of like towards the end where so I cut it down a little bit so I wouldn't have to wait that long. So yeah, because he's like running away, like, oh my goodness, like this is about to turn into my own personal hell. So knowing those are the sounds I wanted for the track, the mindset was, is okay, I got my music. How do I want to set this up? So now let's start figure out animation, start figuring out setups or whatnot. It's like I said, when we look at this from above, let me hit 7 on this. We look at this from above. This is what this looks like. Right, so it's just that's exactly what it looked like, right? And you go, well, what's this dark spot? Well, that's the volume or fog. Okay, um, so because if I go into, let me click this so I can zoom up to it. All right, main camera, go back into it. All right, so if I come here and I do this, this is what you see. So you see that fog. All right, because I'm using a sun lamp to. So as you get closer, you can start to see the actual uh, volume that starts to come out. Let me go back to the camera. All right. So you could see the volume in the shot. So as we boom, you get a chance to really feel the environment, because I believe in an environment like this right here, it would have a certain level of like this atmosphere that's just really dusty and dirty, kind of foggy even. Um, and that was like my mindset was like, let me see how far I can push that limit. And then also me also beginning to work on movie projects more is putting me in a position where I'm having to go past the concepts that I want for me and say, okay, well, let me use some of the stuff that they've been using, and how would I do it in the way that I do it. So that's basically how that has come to be and why it feels like it feels. I'm not sure if you see it here or not, my boy Kev. What you think about the film, man? Just you can type it down there in the comment section or in the chat. I mean to say. Um, I think one of my favorite shots, one of my most favorite shots, I believe is this one. Yeah, this shot right here, I really really like because he just looks away like, okay, whatever, dude. He looks like, okay, this is, I don't care. If I look at this from the standpoint of the animation, you go into this animation is layered. So I have an idle on him in the secondary action. So the secondary action is the action of where he's turning back. Okay. Each camera is set up. I'm sorry, I didn't even talk about my camera setup. So if we look at the camera setup is on a focal length of 50. Hold on, let me see. This is the zombie. So focal length of 50 and a clip end of 5,000 meters. So it means you can see up to 5,000 meters, all right, in distance. I'm using a depth of field, but I also have that on an empty, which is this sphere right here. Okay. So when I go back to the camera, this camera is the zombie's main camera. All right. But I have it set up with the focal length and the aperture and focus size of an Ari Alexa 65. And what I like about using a 3D program is I can go to something like, let me bring the music back. Something like, let's go Ari Alexa cameras, right? And I can go to their website. This is what's cool about this. I can go to what's going on, BK, Tiny in the building. So I can go to their look up their camera systems, right? Okay. And then when I go look up their camera systems, I can go like Alexa, LF, and all these other types, right? So I went to the LF, right? So when I went to the LF, it literally shows me their cameras. Okay, so I know I'm using in the blender shot, I'm using, if I come down, where is it? So I can go into camera, right? And it gives me the actual sensor size. So when I click this button, it gives me all these variations of different cameras. So they have an Alexa Mini and SXT, and then they have an LF, and then they have an Alexa 65. So those are the types of apertures or sensors that you can have. Well, here's an Alexa LF and then a Mini, right? So they don't have a 65 up here, but I figure the 65 is literally a lens, okay? And I want to look those up. Them things cost like $23,000 for a lens, bro. Not the whole camera. 23K for a freaking lens. So I was like, blender free, I can just remake that. So I learned that the sensor size was a 35 millimeter size based on the LF, which put me in a position to say, okay, well, what's the actual size on the LF? So I'm like, well, they got a whole thing on here where they show all the ins and outs of the lenses. So I was like, okay, let me go find it, which I don't know if it's in here now. Yeah. So it shows me the sensor type. Then it shows me the photosensitivity, like basically its size, or we can clearly see here that it could do 4K plus. Okay. It says the sensor rate is up to 150 frames per second. Okay. So, but it also gave me a breakdown of millimeters on the actual aperture. So I was like, oh, okay, well, the aperture can get up to 1.7 inches or 44.71 millimeters. So I was like, well, let me go in, and it means that I can go between these two things. So you got one right here that's 1.44. I was like, oh, okay. So it made me go in here and go, okay, well, I want to use the vertical, okay, because you can go horizontal and see how it changes the perception of the camera. But when I come back to vertical, it gives me the size I want based upon the aperture that I have set for it under the 65. So I've named my cameras what they are. So my camera is an Alexa 65 2K, because when I go to my resolution up here, it is literally in 4K resolution, but my camera is a 2K camera. Okay, because resolution really more is about the size and distance of something rather than, it's like, for instance, if I come in here and I go, let me set this to 720, right? Okay, and if I go to 720 and I go over and go times 2, it's going to put it at 2560. If I go to 720 times 2, it's going to put it at 1440. That's 2K resolution. Now, however, if I have it at 1920 by 1080, right, and I go times 2, and then I do this times 2, because everything's times 2, right? It puts it at 3840 by 2160, which is a 4K resolution, air quoting here. So my camera can be, when I go to my camera is set up with a sensor size of 18.66 millimeters. Okay. So that's underneath my Alexa 65 settings. So when I actually go look at their camera settings, let me say that, and it shows me the aperture size is being 36.7 to 25.54. I was like, I think I can get away with 18 because these cameras allow for 35 millimeter shots. Well, I know that on that size of the shot, I don't have to have it at that level. So I started looking at all of the lens types that went with it, that went with the LF. And I know that it can do 60 millimeter, but it also means if it can do 60 millimeter, it can do 65 millimeter. Of course, here again, you got a 65 prime and then a 765 vintage. The 765 is still a 65 millimeter lens. So I was like, oh, okay. So I started thinking about these things, because a lot of times what happens is you have to figure out what you want. I even read down here where it was like a super 35. Okay, well, let's go in here. There's an actual setting for super 35 right here. I was like, I don't want that. So my cameras are duly named after each camera type. And these are the things that a lot of people don't think about when they're actually animating and dealing with making something. So this is stuff that I started learning over time. Like even your aperture size, like my aperture size is literally 2.2. Okay. But that's the depth of sharpness given in an image. Okay. So if I was to boost that aperture size to something bigger, and it wasn't just because I also have a focal point on the aperture, I mean, for the depth. So there's a focal point on the aperture, which is this sphere object here. Okay. And that's how I can get the depth of field, and it makes sense. So when I render it, Yo, what's going on, Josh? So when I render it, this is the we of course it's a 4K image, so it's gonna be gigantic, so I can come out of it. So we get to focus purely on him because my aperture is only seeing the cannibal. Okay. All right. So, um, but the reason why this is one of my favorite shots is because of how he just turns around and goes, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, cool. I don't want to be here no more anyway. And then we get a chance to focus on Aksara. Okay. And now that means Aksara has a decision to make because now we're faded out because all I did was animate the empty from one place to the next. So the empty is now over here. Okay. All right. So now we have an adjustment. So everything in the foreground is now kind of like an afterthought. And that's no lie. I'm literally thinking these things while I'm going. Like Josh can contest. He'll be talking to me, but man, you still there? Because I'm in it zoned out. And I've been zoned out because I literally just thought about sitting here thinking about how to do a shot. And I think a lot of times people don't take time to think that far. They're just going, oh man, I want to make something, and they end up with these kind of offset shots where, so even if I go back and look at some of my older stuff, I do that a lot. I'll just go look at it and go, ooh, I could have did that differently. Like for those of you that know, let's just be honest here. Those of you that know, I believe you're in here. I don't know if you're still here or not, Kev, but those of you that know that when I started doing this at the beginning, we talking about them, you know, those from the first day, you know what I'm saying? The ones of day oneth, okay, day oneth. All right. From the beginning, know that when I started doing 3D and started dropping my ROD series, one of the biggest issues I was having for me was shots, figuring out how to do shots. So since I don't really have the first shot at all, I have the scene here, but I know that scene is messed up. Like when I say that shot is messed up, it is none of this. I was deleting my shots. There should be like 90 clips in here, and there's only 2 because I would render and then delete the thing I render and start animating in that scene again. Now what I do is iterations. So when we go here and look at this one, you see that there's 12 iterations, right? So 1 through 12. So there's 12 shots in this folder for this particular film. Okay. And if I go over here to ROD and I look at the original setup from the first episode, the first scene, there's only 2 shots, but these are not the first shots of the scene. I only have the renders. So that's one of the things you have to remember is do iterations for each scene. So if you say, well, okay, I got this shot, oh, I want this to happen next, it's easier to just do it in another shot. So start thinking about camera positions and angles of how to merge shots with your camera cuts. And think about cutting. Think about, okay, I can cut right here. I can go this far and then let it hold an anticipation shot and then switch the camera for an action. Like one of the main things I could say is if when I look at my season 4, I want to say episode 10 because I have 2 different versions of it. So yeah, here. So one of the things were in it was episode 10, in a Crystal Void scene. There's literally more. This is not a total of 5. I mean, was it 7 shots? Is it 7? That's 2, 4, 6. So it's not a total 6 shots. It is literally 4 shots and then 2 other shots that are separate shots for an entirely different scene, but all in the same folder because I just was like, I'm going to send them all to the same folder. Okay. So like, for instance, if you look at these 2 shots are him scolding them. And then these shots are where the other guy, there's another one of the Orage that shows up. So I had to think that through and figure out how to cut shots properly. So if we look at like shot 3 here, because I know I'm skipping around, but I just want to show the idea of doing cameras. Okay. But we say, okay.
Very good.
and there's 1,000 frames on this. So if I skip to the next frame set of frames, it jumps from him because he gets done talking, and then it goes over to the next character. So figuring out how you want to figuring out your shots is essential. Okay, so when I was thinking about this one, so no, which one is it? Yeah, from this shot, from 3, is this 3? Yeah, from shot 3 to shot 4, I was like, the one thing I do all the time, unless I'm about to do an extreme cut, is just go to the end of the keyframe, go to the end of the frames, and then I'll go and save an iteration. So I'll come in, you see how it's red? I go in and say, okay, hit plus, and be like, okay, it'll be whatever the next iteration is. So when I do that, when we look at this and I go save, and then I come in here and I go to shot 4, right? That's an immediate change. So it's not even the same frame no more. So I was like, well, no, we're not even going to be in the same frame. I don't need to continue the shot. Okay. So when we look at shot 5, again, it changes. I don't have to hold that shot. But the shot I do need to hold, okay, is these two right here. Okay, well, these 3. All right, because once we do shot, was it 9, 10, and then 11, all 3 of those shots have the same camera space. So they're all in the same area. So I had to go, hold on, wait a minute. Let me figure this out. And I know that Josh can attest to it. It was like, yeah, that dude was literally like, bruh, it's not right. You know, like you could hear me going, oh man, I gotta get these shots right. But yeah, so it's you just have to sit back and really think your bits and pieces out. It's like even when you're setting up a shot. So I think one of the shots that I had the most difficulty trying to set up, I lie to you not, was shot 8, because I was like, dude, how the hell do I do this? So as I look at this shot here, it's like, how do I get this shot to make sense? Because at first the shot was farther over here. It was like over in this corner here, right? And then I moved it over here. It's like that was kind of the thing. But I made a kind of an executive decision to say, okay, hold on. I'm not going to put it over here. I'm not going to leave it over here from a side shot, because you got what they call the 180 rule. You don't want to cross this line. So there's a line, a metaphorical line between them. If the camera is over here, so let me do this. So there's a line here, right? What the hell? You don't. Oh, my bad. So there's a line here, and then this is the 180. This. So say the camera's over there. What I don't want, okay, is the camera to be over there and then switch over to here. So I had the camera here at first, and I was like, nope, don't want that. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna bring the camera right here where it is, and then we're just gonna line this shot up like this. So I want the shot to be lined up that way, and that was the mindset behind doing that. The hell? I guess you won't let me do it like I want. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that was the mindset behind the shot. So click. All right. So I was just like, okay, how do I fix this shot? I don't know if it's got you guys are still in there or not, because my doggone internet be tripping. Let me go see if anybody said anything in the Streamlab thing, because it's only showing one viewer. So okay, cool. All right. But yeah, so let me think here. Oh, my ear itching. So yeah, that was basically the breakdown for me, is to try to figure out how I wanted each shot to kind of be played out. So by the time I got to the end of this shot, the mindset was I need to now come over back to this place. So again, if we look at this, if I annotate this, so we clearly see here what's happening, right? But what I wanted to do, and this is the part that I think is funny, is now I know I need to be able to see him. That's why I like the fact that the camera is here. Okay. So, so yeah. So we go to the next shot. We instantly are underneath him, and we get to see the next bit and piece. So now it's like, boom, the shot is done. He gets knocked over, and boom. So now again, if you see what I did here, I want you to see something. Now, mind you, remember I was talking about the rule of thumb is not to cross a line, right? So this is that 180 right here, right? Okay, the camera is of course here. So what I wanted to do was say, okay, we have this camera over here. So I'm like, he's gonna shoot, bang. All right, so now he gets hit. Don't know why that's not annotating. Okay, so he gets hit, right? Anyway, so I'll leave it there. So he gets hit, and then of course, where the hell did that go? Dang. Okay, I got lines all over the place, man. Let me erase this stuff. Y'all just gonna let me do that? All right. Got another one somewhere out here. I know it. I just don't know where. All right, there it is. Okay, there's nothing else to erase. All right. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that those shots that we were in his face now because we get to see the actual action. All right. And that was the reason why I say I like this other shot was really one of my favorite shots because it transitions between the characters and you get to see the intensity of each person, um, and not uh, and it just not be some general kind of play about. So anyway, with that being said, man, I enjoyed making it. Not, I would like to do something else. I would like to do a little bit of a collab thing. Somebody come up with a story or concept or something, and we can do something with that. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but if I was to talk about one more thing, I want to talk about render settings. So I am rendering this because of the quality of the models. I didn't need it to be that high, so I'm doing it at 16 over 16, which is only 16 samples per pixel, and at basically a 4K res because that's the high, like 2160, uh, and then 30 frames per second, which I should have did it at 24. And of course, I'm doing Open EXR, which is a format that allows all the lighting and all the camera data is in that image. And then when you go and reapply all of the the coding on top of it or encoding on top of it, it lights back up. I'm doing it on the DWAA lossy, which is basically what allows it to codec it in a way where it actually can contain all that data and then later come back and give you the image. Best way to show that would be like this. So I have this little program, Veneta Viewer, if it pops up, come on. And I can go to it real quick and just, I don't want the sequence guy, I want just the image. Hold on. So if I go open and I can just open this image, boom, it'll take a second because it's 4K. Now, there it is, boom. So this is the image. It automatically brings that image in its proper color. This does it. However, that doesn't mean that it comes that way when you open up another program. Like for instance, if I was to open up something like DaVinci or whatnot, DaVinci Resolve, because what it does in DaVinci is you have to go into your color grading to change the color view back to its original color. But other than that, man, I really don't have anything else to say about it. So if there's any questions or whatnot, man, like I said, tell me what you think about it. Like I said, either in the comments of this video or right here in the live stream. But nonetheless, man, I will be back with some prime grade videos and hope to see people come from this video and end up over at the Kono Riki Discord.